Hello, everybody, and welcome back for another episode of Spill the D. My name is Gina. I'm one of your hosts, joined as always with my handsome co-host Rick. How are you?
I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I am thriving over here. Excited for the topic we have tonight. We are doing what you've been wanting to do for a while and comparing the rides at Disneyland to the rides at Disney World.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I was doing this in my head the whole time that we were there, so to be able to talk about it out loud is nice.
Honestly, it's really hard not to. When you've ridden the rides at Disney World and then you go to Disneyland, it's hard to not compare them to each other.
Yeah, definitely.
So, yeah, I'm also excited. Some of these, even it's just something as small as comparing the queue. Mm-hmm. So, I think this should be a really fun one.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about it.
We also have 2 pieces of news. Which piece do you want?
I guess I can take the negative one.
They could both have a positive spin put on them.
I guess they could.
Take the one you want. I know which one you want. Take it.
I do want that one. So, Universal Epic Universe is set to open fully by Memorial Day 2025. This is a report from the Wall Street Journal. But the day that you're listening to this, on Thursday, Universal has said that they have a pretty big announcement planned. So we're assuming that it's either confirming or denying this, that it's going to be ready. Hopefully it's that it's going to be ready. By the speed that it seems like they're moving with building everything, I would be shocked if they said they weren't going to be ready by then.
I completely agree with that.
Because it seems like everything is going really fast as far as the production and building of everything. Mm-hmm. So I'd be shocked for them to say that it wasn't. If they did say that it wasn't going to be ready by then, I wouldn't expect it to be much longer after that it'll be ready.
Yeah, I definitely think that when this announcement comes out on Thursday, it's going to be, yes, Wall Street Journal was correct, or they're wrong, but here's the right date.
Yeah.
So make sure you guys are following us on social media at Spilly Podcast. Follow 47 to Me on Vacation Co. We're both going to be announcing whatever it is after Universal announces it. We'll be sharing it with you guys.
Yeah.
So I would like to go to Epic Universe when it opens.
I will be there as fast as possible.
And by when it opens, I mean literally that weekend if we can.
I will be there as fast as I can.
Literally that weekend? I
would love to.
Heck yeah, you guys heard it here first. You heard it. You guys have my back. He said it. Alright, now we got another piece of news. This is a kind of interesting one. Pretty controversial. By controversial, I mean that I asked on our story what everyone thought of it, and everyone hates it. So, just about everyone.
I haven't heard anything good yet.
No. So we're going to give you guys all the information. So, Disney has just released a new form of Lightning Lane. This is going to be called the Lightning Lane Premier Pass. This is only available to deluxe resort guests starting October 30th at Walt Disney World.
Okay.
At Disneyland, it's going to be available to everybody, not just deluxe resort guests.
Yes.
So I'm going to go over what you get with it if you are staying at Walt Disney World. First of all, Lightning Lane Single Pass and Lightning Lane Multi Pass will still be a thing, but the Premier Pass will be on top of that. If you're staying at a deluxe resort, you can add on this Lightning Lane Premier Pass for a small price of $129 all the way up to $449 per person per day.
Per park.
Yes, so that price is dependent on the park.
Yeah.
So if you go to Magic Kingdom, it can range anywhere from $329 to $449 plus tax for one ticket, one day. What this pass is going to do is it's going to allow you to not need to schedule a Lightning Lane. You can just hop onto a ride one time. You get each ride one time. Mm-hmm. So if there are 10 rides in that park that have a Lightning Lane, you get to just go on those rides 10 times without having to wait in the normal standby queue.
Yeah, you still have to wait in the Lightning Lane line. So if there's a line for Lightning Lane, you still have to wait in that. You don't get to skip it entirely. Mm-hmm. But you do, like Gina said, you don't have to schedule it, which is part of the...
You're paying for the convenience.
Yeah, you're paying for the convenience of not having to go on your phone and schedule your Lightning Lanes.
And you're paying to almost be guaranteed that you get to do all of them, because when you're scheduling Lightning Lanes, they could sell out.
Yeah.
But with this, they're saying that you'll just be able to walk right on.
Yeah.
Some things that are kind of strange about it, they're still doing the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass and Lightning Lane Single Pass, which means, like Rick said, you will still have to wait in a queue possibly, because there could be a line, because there's also all these people who just bought those passes.
Yeah.
There Here's my thought on it. I think that if this is something that you can afford to add to your vacation, this is going to be a great thing to add to your vacation, but I don't think the average family can afford it. But if
Definitely
you are able to afford it, or if this is something that you want to wait a few extra months to go to Disney so that you can budget for this, if you want to pay over, I mean, for a family of 4 going to Magic Kingdom, when it's $449, that's almost $2,000 in a day.
Yeah.
But if that's something you can afford to do and you want to do it, that's awesome. This is going to be a great addition to your day, and it's going to be fantastic as an option for you. You really are paying for the convenience, because I would recommend you still just buy a Lightning Lane. But my main thought that I want to take away from this is if you can afford to do this, you can probably afford a VIP tour.
And I would rather just do that.
And I'd rather just do the VIP tour.
Yeah.
A little bit more expensive, but definitely more worth it long term.
Yes, I agree.
Maybe not even more expensive if you have enough people going.
That's true. It could be cheaper.
They're for up to 10 people. And
yeah, it could be cheaper.
And start at like $4.50 an hour for 7 hours. So yeah, if you had 10 people going, that could be cheaper if you did a 7-hour tour at $4.50 an hour.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's my thought on it. I think that it could be really worth it if it's something that you can afford. I just don't think everyone is going to be able to afford this one.
Yeah.
As an upgrade.
Seems like a money grab to me.
Well, the other thing, too, is, like, this is very similar to what Universal does, except there's a few big differences. Universal, they give it to their deluxe resort guests for free. Mm. Disney is saying that in order to even be eligible to purchase it, you have to be a deluxe resort guest, which is kind of weird. The other thing, so funny enough, when we went to Disneyland Paris, this is around what their prices were, not the 400 end, the 100 end. Like, if we would have added it on for one day, it would have been like over $200 for the two of us just for that one day.
Yeah.
But the cool thing was, because the price was so high, people didn't use it. So the few people that did use it really got to see the perks of it, and then everyone else just kept moving in the standby line because the standby line wasn't constantly getting stopped by Lightning Lane. And I feel like because they are still doing the Lightning Lane Multi-Pass and Lightning Lane Single Pass on top of this option, it's not going to give that kind of perk.
Yeah, I don't.
In either direction.
To me, it doesn't seem like enough of a perk to be paying that much money, because there is still the option of the regular Lightning Lanes.
You also get your ride photos.
Yeah.
But at Disneyland, you'll get, you don't need to be a deluxe resort guest. Anyone can get it. Mm-hmm. And you'll get all of your photos.
Yeah.
Kind of like their Lightning Lane system is now.
And how much is it going to be for each of those parks?
Like $400. But you, at that one, it can park hop with you. So at this one, let's say you buy the Magic Kingdom one for, we'll go lowball, we'll say $329, and then you park hop over to Animal Kingdom. It's not good at Animal Kingdom. Yeah, you'd have to buy another one.
Waiting in the regular queues now.
Yes. So, like, it doesn't park hop with you. At Disneyland, it's going to park hop with you.
So if you're paying for this, you're going rope drop to close, and you're riding every ride.
Oh,
and then when you're done every ride by 12 o'clock, you don't know what to do.
Then you just go away in the regular queue. Then you ride the carousel, because that doesn't have a Lightning Lane entrance.
That's my issue, is that it's only once per ride.
Yeah, because the Universal, they have the unlimited one option where you can just keep going. They do have the one that you can only do one at a time, but they also have the one where you can just keep going.
I still don't think it would be worth it if they made it that you could go on a ride multiple times, but it would make it closer to worth it, in my opinion.
It might make the $100 and something one worth it if that was the price at, like, Christmas time.
Yeah.
But that's the price of Animal Kingdom on a slow day.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm gonna, like I said, I don't think it's worth it for the average family to stretch their dollar to try and get to that, but if you are someone who can just afford to swipe your card and have that be something that you can add onto your vacation, then sure, do it. But I mean, I would still tell you there's better things to spend your money on.
Yeah.
Just getting on the Lightning Lane.
Get more days at your resort.
Yeah, or that.
Take that money and put it towards 4 more days at your resort.
Yeah, like, it could be cool, but it could be a lot of extra money that you're going to regret spending.
Yeah.
That you could have booked a whole nother vacation with 1 day's worth of Magic Kingdom.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just doesn't seem worth it to me.
It'll be interesting to see how it does.
Yeah, I'll be interested to hear from someone who has an experience with it.
I think it's going to be one of those things that, like, no one uses, but it's always going to be there as an option. Like, years down the road, people are going to be booking vacations, and they're going to be like, well, you can upgrade to this, but no one does. Like, that kind of thing. Like, this is an option. No one uses it, but it is an option.
Yeah, part of me feels like they thought that it would be a good idea to do this because it might deter people from doing Lightning Lane because it's so expensive. And then it would kind of go back to just most people waiting in the regular lines.
Yeah, but they still have the
But
regular
they still have the regular one. Yeah, I just don't really. I would love to. I would love to see the meeting board.
I'd like to know how many people this price got past that they were like, yeah, that looks good.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Disney, if you need like a regular average Joe to run these things by, to see like if a normal person would spend the money, I will volunteer.
Yes.
I don't think that we're your target audience though, so I don't think they're picking us. They're not. This is not targeted towards the average family.
Oh, excuse me, we have DVC.
Yeah, that's where all our money went. Now they really don't want us. But yeah, that's really it. We gave the gist of it. We'll stop giving our opinions. You guys can make your decisions on your own now that you have all of the information. Do what works best for you and your family. And if you can afford it, I'd love to come vacation with you.
Yeah. I personally will be spending my money going to Epic Universe instead, but...
Oh, that'd be so fun. On opening weekend.
Yeah.
But that's all we have for the news. If you have more questions about this, either thing, please feel free to reach out to us. You can also reach out to our friends over at 407 and Beyond Vacation Co. We're the official podcast of 407 and Beyond Vacation Co. They're a Disney and Universal Orlando travel agency that books and plans family vacations to destinations such as Disney, Universal, Royal Caribbean, Sandals, all that fun stuff. Doesn't cost any extra to book with them. Their services are 100% free, and their travel agents are going to do everything, including getting your Lightning Lane together or booking your Epic Universe tickets. So go ahead and check them out, 407vacations.com. You can get a free, no obligation quote.
Oh, yeah.
You can get to Epic Universe as of tomorrow when we get the dates, because that's what we think they're going to say.
I would imagine.
Are you ready to get started?
Yeah, let's do it.
On the fun stuff?
Yeah,
okay.
I'm very excited for this one.
Yes. So we have them organized based off of what park they are in at Disneyland. So to get started, we're going to start out with Disney California Adventure, and we're going to compare the rides they have there to the ones that they have matching ones of at Walt Disney World. So at Disney California Adventure, we'll just go big. We'll start with the really big one. Okay. I want to compare Guardians of the Galaxy to Tower of Terror. I want to know which one you think is better. Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout to Tower of Terror.
This one is kind of a trick question, in my opinion, because we had it Monsters After Dark because we were there at Halloween time, even though it was September. Monsters After Dark, I don't think was better than Tower of Terror.
Okay. We did ride it regularly.
And I would say that in my mind it's equal.
Oh.
I don't think either is better than the other because... it's tough to compare because they're two different rides at this point. Like, they still have the same ride sequence and everything. Not the exact ride sequence. They changed the bounces a little bit, but the theming of Guardians is obviously one of my favorites because I'm a big Marvel fan, if you can't tell by my Spirit jersey that I'm wearing right now. But I also do really enjoy the classic 1930s vibe of the Tower of Terror. So
Hollywood, 1939.
Yeah, so like... it's a huge toss-up for me in which one I like better. If you're just talking Monsters After Dark, though, it's definitely Tower of Terror.
Okay. I'm going to throw a little curveball in there. Include Disneyland Paris.
Disneyland Paris is top.
Of all of them?
Yeah.
I know it is. That's why I asked.
Yeah,
Disneyland Paris was the scariest version of Tower of Terror I think there is in the entire world.
It was awesome.
Absolutely petrifying. I'm actually going to blow some minds. And I think the Hollywood Studios Tower of Terror is better than Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout.
Okay.
I think that the storyline of Mission Breakout is really, really cool. Mm-hmm. I agree. I wish we could have rode the actual ride more, but it was so hot that they had to close it a few times. Yeah. So we really only got to do Monsters After Dark, but we did get one ride on the original Guardians of the Galaxy Mission Breakout. Yeah. Tower of Terror, though, like, I feel like they do a better job of setting the scene. And they have you nervous from the moment you walk in that building. Do you know what I mean? And, like, you have, like, that knot in your stomach. And it could just be because I'm petrified of ghosts. But, like, you get that knot in your stomach. Uh-huh. And then it's a scary story. And then you just drop. Like, they're scaring you the whole way through.
I will say, I think Tower of Terror does a better job start to finish of the storyline, like you're saying. Like,
but the Guardians drop.
Yeah, better. So, like Tower of Terror is you walk in, the queue, and the first thing that happens is you get a little bit of a fog, which is the mist coming out of the plants. You're walking into the hotel, and if you've seen the movie, it looks exactly like the movie.
Because they use the Tower of Terror for the movie.
Yeah.
The movie is based off the ride.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Just make sure you know.
But, like, it looks exactly like the movie, so, like, if you've seen the movie, then you're attaching it in your mind that way.
I'm already getting a little scared because of that. It's a petrifying movie.
And then you walk into the lobby, and it's, like, it's just, like, it flows more complete, in my opinion, the Tower of Terror does.
Mm-hmm.
But the sequence of Guardians I like better.
When you're dropping.
Yeah, when you're dropping and going up and stuff like that, I thought that was better.
Yeah.
In the Guardians.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
So that's why they're equal to me, because they both do something better than the other one.
Getting to the drop on Tower of Terror, the suspense is way better than the suspense on Guardians.
Yes, definitely.
But the actual dropping itself on Guardians, but set to the music with the little show going on, like, that's better.
Yeah.
One thing I want to say that Walt Disney World does way better than Disneyland, and better than Disneyland Paris. This really confused me about Paris. The ride loading at Walt Disney World, it's like a circle going, kind of. So, like, you get out on one spot and on the next spot, so they can just continually load the vehicles. Yeah. Where Tower of Terror at Disneyland Paris, Guardians Mission Breakout at Disneyland in California, when you get on and off of it, it's the same one. Like, the one that someone just got on has to unload in the same spot.
Yep.
So it takes longer. I hope I just explained that well.
You load and unload at the same spot.
Same spot, so not two different spots. Yeah, it doesn't move around like the one at Walt Disney World does, and the one at Walt Disney World is significantly more efficient. The reason it confused me so much in Paris was because they built that after Walt Disney World. So it's like, why didn't you use the more efficient architect blueprints? I don't know.
No idea.
But, so Walt Disney World wins there. But yeah, I agree. That's a hard toss-up. So we're gonna really annoy our listeners right now and leave that as both of us are kind of in between. Yeah, but we gave our logic as to why, and we did say some spots are better than others.
Yeah, and for the record, that's the last one that either of us, I think I can speak for both of us, are gonna say is equal.
I don't know. I hope so.
Okay, that's the last one I'm gonna say is equal.
I sure hope so. Sure do. Okay, next one. PhilharMagic.
Walt Disney World's better.
Walt Disney World 100% better.
The reason that it's better is because the theater is designed for it. So the one in California is designed for the Muppets show or PhilharMagic, and they rotate them out.
Do they? I
think so.
I didn't see anything about the Muppet show.
Where did I hear that then? Because I'm pretty sure you told me that. I
told you that it was the Muppets theater because it's a copy-paste of the theater that's
okay, gotcha.
But I didn't see any Muppet Show signs.
Okay. So maybe it was, and now they switched it to PhilharMagic. And
that's what I'm thinking.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like your confidence, though. Keep it up. Keep going.
I was ready for it. I could have sworn you told me that it rotates out. But anyway.
He was ready to go to war for that one, guys.
So update. It was the Muppets Theater and is now PhilharMagic. So it's just not designed for the show PhilharMagic. The screening is different. The extra stuff is different.
Like the 4D effects.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil anything, but the end of the show doesn't have the same effect that it does in Walt Disney World. So I just think that the one in Walt Disney World is better. It's the same show. Like the video, like the actual, like what happens in the show is exactly the same. It's the extra stuff outside of that. So the theater and the 4D stuff and all that, that's different.
Yeah. No, what he's saying is completely accurate. I completely agree with it.
And I think Walt Disney World just does it better.
Yeah. I agree. Having the theater made like specifically for it makes it a lot more immersive and a lot more fun.
Yes.
They do still have the Donald Duck butt, though.
They do.
Which Disneyland Paris did not have the Donald Duck butt.
That's true.
Because they had the same issue where it was put in just a random theater.
Yeah.
But it definitely, the graphics are better at Walt Disney World, the 4D effects, everything is just better. Oh, and the screen opens up more to go like almost completely around you.
Magic Kingdom,
At Magic Kingdom. In Walt Disney World, it just doesn't have the ability to do that at Disneyland. Like, it opens up as much as it can, but not to the extent that it does at Walt Disney World. So it's just a better, more immersive experience at Walt Disney World. Yes. Same thing with even the queue. When you're going through the queue, it's more themed to the show.
Yep.
Where at Disneyland they just use the space they have, which is great. But I'm glad that the West Coasters get to experience that show because it's a phenomenal show. But they don't even know what they're missing with how good it is at Walt Disney World.
All right, next up we have Soarin'. How do you feel about this one?
It felt exactly the same to me.
The ride sequence was exactly the same.
The queue was a little different, and I'm going to say that this queue won over the Disneyland queue won over the Walt Disney World queue.
Okay.
Because it wasn't a 1.5 mile walk.
That's fair. That is fair.
You didn't have to go underground in a building and then through a tunnel.
Yeah.
And army crawl your way to your seat.
Yeah, that's fair. I thought Disneyland was better. And for me, it was because of outside of the ride, and again, the queue. Like you said, the queue's not a mile long. I felt like the ride was placed in a more appropriate spot, if that makes sense. Because it was kind of in like a jungle wooded area, as opposed to just the building.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So for me, that was kind of what made it better for me. Like I felt like I should be walking into Soarin' as opposed to Walt Disney World, where I'm walking into what's the area called?
The Land Pavilion.
The Land Pavilion, and there's a food court and living with the land and all this stuff. Like it's its own entity.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is there not a food court at the airport?
It's its own like entity in Disneyland, and I just thought that felt nicer.
Yeah, it's like almost like an airplane hangar.
It's what it looks like.
Like a hangar bar. Yeah, it has like all of the theming around it. Yeah, it has its own area on the way to Bear Country. Yeah. So it makes sense.
So I think for that reason, I'd have to go with that one. Again, the ride sequence exactly the same. The ride itself doesn't change at all, except for the castle at the end,
which was cool.
It was cool.
That was cool to see the castle instead of Epcot.
Yeah. So that does change a little bit. I take that back. It does change a little bit, but for me, it's still better in California just because of everything outside of it.
I am sad though because they randomly do switch it to Soarin' over California, and it just wasn't while we were there. It was still the normal Soarin', but I would have loved to see Soarin' over California because I haven't seen that one since I was little.
I don't even remember what that one was like.
Choppy. There's no like transition from thing to thing. It's just like you're soaring and then it just switches to the next scene.
That's funny
because it's old. It's like the original. So, all right, Toy Story Mania.
Another one very similar, besides the queue.
But the queue at Walt Disney World dominates.
Oh, 100%.
The queue at Disneyland.
Yeah. So Disneyland doesn't feel as much as like you're a toy.
No. Because you're not.
Yeah.
Like you are, but it's not like we're in Disney World how you're in the entire Toy Story land and you're supposed to feel like a toy the whole time you're in there. It's just for that ride. Yeah. I know the queue at Walt Disney World, the way that they immerse you into this I'm in Andy's room feeling, it demolishes Disneyland. Where you're just in a circus tent, basically. Yeah. That might not be the right word to use for it, but you get what I'm saying. You're in like a...
I forget, did they have Mr. Potato Head in Disneyland?
They did. He was actually outside the ride.
Okay, gotcha.
He wasn't in the queue. Like, as we were walking past, you could see Mr. Potato Head.
Okay. I thought, for some reason, I was like, he's not in there, is he?
Yeah, he was out on Pixar Pier.
Okay.
But the ride, the same.
Yeah, the ride's the same.
The ride's the same.
The tricks are the same. The ones to get all the stuff open, it's all the same.
All those little ride hacks that we've taught you guys before, all the same. You can use them at Disneyland, too. I was like, let's go!
So, yeah, Walt Disney World, definitely better.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, last one we have for California Adventure.
It's a little bit of a stretch.
A little bit of a stretch.
But we're rolling with it.
Again, same ride track, and that's why we're comparing the two of them.
Same ride system. It's not the same track.
Yeah.
At least I don't think. No, it definitely isn't.
No, definitely longer California Adventure.
And it's not.
So anyway, so we're comparing Radiator Springs Racers, which is the Cars themed ride, with Test Track, and this one isn't even close in my opinion. The Radiator Springs Racers is 1,000,000 times better than Test Track, and that is me throwing shade at Test Track because I don't think Test Track is a great ride.
Fair. Test Track can be very boring.
Yeah.
If you're not a 9-year-old boy. For a 9-year-old boy, best ride ever.
Yeah. Like, most of the time, like, when I talk about Epcot, I'm not throwing shade, but I do not think Test Track is a great ride, and I'm not upset if I miss it.
I'm here to throw shade.
But if I go to California Adventure, I want to ride Radiator Springs Racers.
Yes, it was amazing. The theming of it, all around it, not even just including the ride, like the whole land, and then you get to the ride, and it's still just amazing theming.
Yeah.
And then you get on the ride, and it's amazing theming, and it's so cool. It's like a Test Track car, but it looks like the cars from Cars.
Yeah.
I forgot the name of the movie for a second.
And I think I can speak for a good amount of people when I say that one of the scenes in movies that I'm always like, I wish I could just be there for that, is when McQueen and Sally are riding along together and they pass like the waterfall and stuff.
And we did it.
And that's just there.
We did it. We did it. We were McQueen and Sally.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it's also a race, which is cool.
We won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was a little upset we only got to ride that one time, actually.
Yeah, me too.
We tried to ride it the second time, and the line was, like, insane. We got so lucky the first time because the heat, no one was on the line.
Yeah.
It is a warm line.
It is. Definitely is.
But that's where, with everything, just about Walt Disney World beats Disneyland. Because nothing's really shaded there because they don't get rain, so I guess they don't worry about covering anything, which means the sun is also just on you.
Yeah, but landslide win for Radiator Springs Racers here.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And you guys can argue that we shouldn't be comparing it anyway. It is very different, but it's
They're
very
both car rides that are on tracks like that.
Similar ride mechanism. That's why I was like, I want to
Yeah.
compare this.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very similar.
I think that they're close enough that they can be compared.
I agree. All right, now we're going to head on over to Disneyland.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to get through this whole list. There's a lot of rides that are the same at both parks.
There is, yeah.
So this might be a 2-part episode. We will stop it when we hit 45 minutes, no matter where we're at. Or when we're around there. And then we'll do the next part next week, okay?
Sounds good.
Cool. I was saying okay to the listeners, so guys okay?
Sounds good.
Cool. Alright, number one, the big one.
The big one.
The one everyone's here for. Should I save this one for the next episode? No, I already talked about it. I gotta do it. Pirates of the Caribbean.
So much better at California.
Yeah?
So much better.
Tell me why.
It's longer, first of all, because there's an extra scene in it.
There's a few extra scenes.
There's a few extra scenes in it. I mean, for the most part, it's fairly similar besides the extra scenes, but the length is what does it for me. And I really do enjoy the queue. I thought was pretty good. It was average. It wasn't like an amazing queue, but it was pretty good. And the fact that you could see the restaurant again, I really like. Mm-hmm. Which you can see it in Walt Disney World, so it's not like that different there.
No.
I thought you could.
A restaurant? You're picturing Paris.
Oh, I'm picturing Paris.
Goes to Paris one time and makes it his whole personality.
I do like how you can see the restaurant from California Adventure. What?
Just trying to find myself.
I found myself.
By visiting,
Paris is where I want to be.
By visiting different Disney parks.
Disneyland Paris is where I want to be. That's where I found myself. No, but I did enjoy that you could see the restaurant from the ride, and then the extra scenes and the length of the ride were big parts of it for me.
That's fair. That is definitely fair.
Where do you stand?
California is better.
Okay.
However, I'm just going to say it. It's not enough better for the way that people act like it's better.
It smells better.
It does smell better. Okay, wait. So I get really confused because people are always like, "Oh my god, the smell of the pirate sweater," and then you go and they like say it like Walt Disney World, and you go in and I don't even notice the smell.
No, Walt Disney World doesn't smell.
I don't notice the smell until the scene where Rome is burning, where the city is burning, and then I'm like, "Oh, okay, the smell of the fire," but like I don't smell the water, and I was like, I have to smell it here. And I walked in, and I did smell it at California. And I'm like, okay, now I understand what people are talking about. I think if you say it at Walt Disney World, you're probably faking. Or you're, like, really sniffing hard.
Yeah.
Because it smells just like it does when you ride Tiana's Bayou Adventure. Bromine water. Like, it's not... Nothing crazy. Yeah. But yeah. But I do think it is better. The fact that it's longer is better. Although some portions I was like, there's nothing to see here. It's just longer. Like, because they're just getting you
Yeah.
from like A to B. And I was like, this is not made for my attention span. I'm looking at nothing. But then, like, you get to the next part, and you're like, okay, this is a really cool part. So it
Yeah.
definitely is better, but I didn't think that it was that much longer or enough better for the way that people are like, oh my god, it's not Disneyland. Disneyland's is better after they ride the Disney World one. Like, no, calm down.
No, Disney World is still really good.
Yes, it's still great.
And I will say this, as much as I thought Disneyland's was better, the very end scene of Jack Sparrow sitting on the treasure is better at Disney World.
Where he's in the room?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's better at Disney World than it is at Disneyland. I was underwhelmed by that one.
Where was he on the Disneyland one?
He was still in like a treasure room, but it was much smaller, and it was just like you could tell that it had been done first.
Paris had the best one.
Yes.
Paris, he was in a treasure cave.
Yeah.
The entire room, you went through
Yeah.
this room of treasure, and he was sitting on a rock in the room.
Yeah.
Or on a chair that was like up on like a rock in the room. That was the coolest one.
That was definitely the coolest one.
Yeah. But no, I agree. The treasure room is definitely better at Walt Disney World. It feels more like it's supposed to be there.
Yeah. And that's just like the most memorable because it's the last part of the ride.
The part where they're literally shooting over you in the Disneyland one is very cool. Towards the end.
Yeah.
When they're like, when the one guy's pushing the other guy's butt up and they're like literally like shooting. Like, the gun at one point like points at the boat and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
They just pointed that at me. Because if you're in the right seat, the gun literally points right at you. You're like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Here it goes. This is it. This is how I go. But yeah, no, I thought they were both great. But Disneyland's is better.
Yes.
I will admit it. Alright, let's go to Space Mountain.
Disneyland's better.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Tell me why.
I like that you sit next to someone.
Such a people person.
You know, it's just who I am as a person. No, it's really honestly it. Like, it doesn't feel much different besides that. I like riding rides with someone.
No, that's fair.
So, it was the same reason, probably, that, at least most of the reason that I didn't like the bobsleds.
I think you're just afraid of the Yeti.
No, I just didn't like the ride. And maybe it was because we had such a bad experience leading up to the ride, as far as the wait went.
Yeah, don't do single rider line.
Oh my
That was
gosh, we
the
did
longest
single
wait
rider,
ever.
and it was so much longer than the regular wait.
It was probably still shorter than the regular
It
wait,
wasn't.
but
I was
it
watching
felt really, really
I
long.
was watching people, and there was people that got on after us, and they got on the ride before us.
Well, now we know. And now our listeners know.
Yeah. But Space Mountain, I like it better because it's two-person, and that's pretty much the only reason. There's nothing much different besides it, in my opinion.
Okay. I personally love a roller coaster that whips you around, and I felt like the Walt Disney World one whips you a little bit more.
Is it because we weren't in the back for Disneyland, do you think?
Weren't we in the front?
We were closer to the front, yeah.
I think we were the very front, were we not?
Were we? I thought we were like row 2 or 3.
I thought we were the very front.
Either way,
I
not
remember,
the back.
Yeah, but like the thing with the Disney World one is if you're in the front seat or the back seat, you get kind of whipped around either way because you don't see the drops coming because it's so dark.
Yeah.
So like all of a sudden you're falling or all of a sudden you're turning.
Okay.
And I didn't feel that as much with the Disneyland one.
Harder to do with a two-person, I think.
Yes, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. So that's where actually I like the one person better. Okay. I like the single file row.
The seats were just more comfortable, too, I felt like.
It was definitely easier to get out of.
Yeah.
Sometimes I feel like Disney's trying to keep me forever when I ride the one at Walt Disney World. Like, they're like, you sit there, you don't move ever again.
You're riding this ride on repeat.
If you can get up without embarrassing yourself, you can get up.
A whole bucket of popcorn.
Or spilling your whole bucket of popcorn, you can get up. And then I'm stuck there forever. Because I feel like it's ridiculous. It makes me wonder if that's what it feels like for pregnant women trying to stand up. Like, you're just stuck. Like...
It's fair.
Because the way when you watch people try and get out of it is exactly what it looks like when a pregnant woman tries to stand up.
Yeah,
when
tough.
She's like third trimester, ready to pop, it's the same exact thing. That's actually the reason that pregnant women can't ride that ride. It has nothing to do with the roller coaster. You're never going to get out of that seat, and they can't have you going into labor and like right on the ride. That's just going to make a mess. Absolutely not.
All right, so you think Walt Disney World's better?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Walt Disney World, but
All
it
right.
was a close one. I also think, funny enough, that the Disney one, they're both Disney. That the Walt Disney World one, Magic Kingdom one, is darker.
You did say that while we were there.
I felt like it was darker, which I love a good dark ride, because when you said you liked it, I was like, oh, is it because you're afraid? Because you don't like dark roller coasters.
Yeah.
So I was like, is it because you could see the track more?
I didn't think you could see the track much more. It was a little bit lighter, but I didn't think it was significant that much.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, but when you like a pitch black roller coaster, like I like a pitch black.
Yeah.
I don't want to know what's coming. I just want to get whipped around. So, like, to me, I could see the track a little bit.
Yeah.
I knew a drop was coming. Where at Walt Disney World, if you get it on a good day, you have no idea.
Fair.
All right, you ready for the next one?
Yeah, let's do it.
Pick one.
Let's go with It's a Small World.
Oh.
How'd you feel about it?
Better at Disneyland.
Agreed.
It had the characters in it. It had characters from movies kind of snuck into it.
Yeah.
Which was pretty cool.
I liked the queue/beginning of the ride. So first of all, the ride itself, the whole ride is its own thing. It's not just shoved in a corner like it is at Walt Disney World. It's like there's a whole big, like, picture a play and how they do like the backdrops and stuff like that. That's what it looks like. It's just like a...
Interesting way to describe it.
Is it not what that looks like?
No,
now?
that's a pretty good...
Like how they do the big painted backdrops and everything. Like that's what it looks like on the outside.
It's a working clock.
Yeah, it is. But then the queue is outside, and you get on the boat outside, which I thought was pretty cool.
It's the perks of it barely ever raining in California.
Yeah.
There was a lot of rides that loaded on the outside.
Yeah, but this one specifically, I really liked that it loaded on the outside, and then it took you inside and did the whole ride and everything, and you got off the ride outside as well. Like you said, there was a bunch of characters in there, so the whole ambiance of the outside, the queue, and getting on the ride outside, and the characters inside are the three reasons I would say that one was better.
Okay. That's fair. I think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely think you're right with that one. I think that one won.
Also, not an unnecessarily long wait.
No. No. Okay, but like again, ours was a little bit skewed because it was so hot that people were mainly either back at their hotel or doing things that were inside. So if you rode things that were outside in the middle of the day, like you walked right on.
Yeah.
If the queue was outside, you were walking right on. Honestly, even walking around the streets of California, like the streets of California Adventure, the streets of Disneyland, they were empty because no one was there because it was so hot.
Yeah, if you don't remember or you didn't hear us talk about it because you're new here, first of all, welcome.
Glad you're here. Thanks.
It was 109 the one day that we were there, so very warm day. So anything outside may have been a little skewed for us, but
yeah, we brought the heat wave.
We can only talk on our experience, so.
And from our experience, did kick butt.
Yeah.
So certain things. This one was. I don't want to say this one kicked butt. This one was pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to use the word demolished like I did for the queue of Toy Story Mania, but it was pretty close. But I would say that Disneyland's is better than Walt Disney World.
For me, it wasn't even close.
No?
No.
I like the colors,
I would use the word demolished.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You know what, though? Okay, so if you've never been to Disneyland, what Rick just described is what the outside looks like. It's like when you go into Disney World, once you're under the tent, and then you see it. That's what it looks like, except Disney World, it's colored, and at Disneyland, it's white.
Yeah.
Does that switch?
No, Disneyland is white.
Okay, I'm like, wait a minute, do I have that backwards?
Yeah, Disneyland's white.
The fact that it's a working clock is also cool.
Yeah. I like it.
Me too. Big fan, big fan. Okay, we have 11 left.
Okay.
So we'll do one more.
Okay.
Because that should get us to right about halfway. And then that'll perfectly leave us 10 more for next week.
Sounds good to me.
But it needs to be a good one, but not so good that there's no good ones left for next week.
Okay. How about this one? Jungle Cruise.
Yeah, I'd say that's a good one.
Which one did you think was better?
That's hard.
For me, it was Walt Disney World.
Tell me why. Talk me into it. Persuade me.
I thought, and we only rode it once at Disneyland, so it's kind of tough to say, but for the most part, you can get the gist. I thought the skippers are better at Disney World.
I felt like we had a good skipper, though.
I felt like
He
we
was
did,
good.
but I felt like, on average, the ride itself, skipper-wise, is better at Disney World. Like, if I took the most average skipper I've ever had at Walt Disney World compared to the one that we had at Disneyland, I'd rather have the one from Disney World, I think.
Okay.
I didn't really think they did the story as well at Disney World. Or Disneyland, I mean, sorry.
I don't remember the Disneyland one really having as much of a detailed story as the Disney World one does. Like, there's a lot going on at the Disney World one that they kind of tie together a little bit more, where the Disneyland one, at least the way that our skipper did it, was piece by piece by piece. And her delivery was great. I said he earlier by accident. It was a she. Her delivery was great, and she was funny, but, like, it was piece by piece by piece. It wasn't a full story put together.
Didn't flow.
No, which seems not to be because of her, but because of the layout of the ride.
Yes, and the other thing, too, as much as I hate snakes, I do enjoy the part in Disney World where they turn the lights off and you go through the, like, temple thing.
That will be Shirley's temple. The goddess Shirley, her temple.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I never knew that. That's fantastic.
You've never heard a skipper say that?
No.
The big statue that's outside of it, they'll be like, this is the goddess Shirley, and we're going to go through Shirley's temple.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so I do like that part. I think it's cool. And like Gina said, the story just doesn't flow like it does. And maybe that's why I wasn't as big of a fan of the skipper either, because it did feel more choppy in Disneyland because it doesn't flow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I got to go Disney World. I think they just do it better.
I actually agree. I remember getting off and being like, Disney World's better.
Yeah.
Like, it was easy to decide on that one.
Yeah, it wasn't a huge blowout, but it wasn't necessarily close either.
No, I agree. I agree with that, yeah.
So.
It was funny, too, because I felt like it was kind of hidden as well.
Yeah.
Like, you could have walked right past it and not even known it was there. We just happened to see the sign, because it's right next to Indiana Jones. So, like, if you're looking for Indiana Jones, you're not going to see Jungle Cruise and vice versa. And, like, luckily we read the signs. But that's all everything really is at Disneyland. It's all very close together that you have to constantly be looking for what is there or you could miss it.
Yeah.
Everything is really snuck in there. There's so much in such a small space, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
It makes it great, because then you come out of an exit, and there's an next queue.
Yeah, it does.
It's like, next entrance, cool, let's do this.
Yeah, especially at the entrance with the Pinocchio and the Snow White and all those.
Yeah, in Fantasyland, that one, that's a big one, where it's like, you come
just,
out, and then right into the next one. You come out, and then right into the next one. That's why a lot of the 407 agents we talked to recommended, like, okay, go rope drop Fantasyland, because you're going to come out, and then right back in.
You get a bunch of rides done right away.
Yeah, made it really nice. So we finished with the rides for today. We're going to do the rest of them next week, so come back for that. I do want to say, though, this really made me think about it, and I know I've said it before, but I don't know if I've said it on the podcast. One thing that, for the rides, Disney World does better than Disneyland is definitely the queues, the way that they are air-conditioned, and the way that they are covered.
Yes.
Because since it doesn't, I'm assuming it's because it doesn't rain at Disneyland, like, nothing is covered. Which meant there's a lot of times that you're just sitting in the sun, just roasting.
Which,
so,
on a normal 70 to 80 degree day, probably not the worst thing in the world. But when it's 109 degrees, it's pretty bad.
But when you're like us and you bring a heat wave, it's rough. Because the sun is where the heat comes from there. There is no humidity. So that's something I definitely think Disney World does better than Disneyland. There are just more areas to go to get the shade and to hide out. And, like, you're more likely to hop into a line because, cool, let me go hop in this line and avoid the heat for a little bit.
Yeah.
Where there, it was like, let me hop in this line and keep roasting.
Yeah, exactly.
So that was something that we found a lot. So next week, we will be doing Big Thunder Mountain, Buzz Lightyear, Tomorrowland Speedway, Dumbo, Haunted Mansion, Winnie the Pooh, Smuggler's Run, Star Tours, Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, and the one that I'm really excited to talk about, Dinosaur versus Indiana Jones.
It's going to be a big one.
It's gonna be big.
It's got indoor plumbing.
Where's that from? Oh, Hercules.
Yeah.
I was like, what am I quoting?
It's gonna be big.
It's gonna be big. But that's it. So come back next week for that one. So that's it for this week. That was 9 that we did, so we have 10 set up for next week, and I'm very excited about it because these are the big ones that we have left. If you're not already following us on social media, in the meantime, from now until then, be sure to follow us. We are at Spility Podcast on Instagram, Spility Pod on TikTok. You can email us if you need anything, spilitypod@gmail.com. And if you like what you heard, be sure to leave us a review. Stars on Apple Podcasts with a review, stars on Spotify. You can comment on Spotify now, so if you want to argue with anything that we said, you want to give your opinion on it, we'd love to know what you think. Do you think the Pirates at Walt Disney World is actually better than Pirates at Disneyland? Be sure to let us know. Comment on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, that's all we got. So until next time, we will
see you at the castle.